According to National Geographic, if 7 billion humans stood shoulder to shoulder, we would fit into the city of Los Angeles. 46 years ago in 1968, at 3.5 billion, we would have taken only half that space. If you think about it that way, we don't take that much space on this good earth at all. But it was in 1968, at half our size, that Paul and Ann Ehrlich published their book, The Population Bomb. Many reports, studies, books, and debates later, we're still asking, can there ever be too much of a good thing, the good thing being us, of course? And good as we may or may not be, are we too demanding a species? Is it possible that we are wearing out our welcome on this planet? Are we numerically too many, or are we just too high maintenance at this point? The better question might be, are you interested in reading a book about overpopulation and overconsumption? Before you say no, let me introduce you to Alan Weisman's remarkable new book, Countdown. Nothing is off limits to this journalist as he grapples with the impact of our procreative abilities. He travels to over 20 countries and talks to everyone, even the often overlooked grandmother. Wherever he goes, the questions he asks are always the same. How many people can this planet really hold? And can we create an economy that doesn't depend on constant growth? What will it take for us to change our ways? Alan Weisman has good eyes, for he sees what many do not. I'll take 2 chapters and show you what he showed me. Chapter 1, Israel and Palestine, a weary land in 4 questions. Conversations about Israel and Palestine often focus on the idea of the land rather than the land itself. But here, in only 29 pages, Alan Weisman takes the bloom off the blooming desert myth, and he does it without offending a single soul. And if that's not a miracle, I don't know what is. But a few environmental facts, and you'll get the picture. In the 1960s, Israel released 50,000 strychnine-laced chickens to quell an outbreak of rabies among the jackal population. That killed a lot of other wildlife and probably caused the extinction of the Galilee leopard. Israel's use of pesticides is the highest in the developed world. The use of DDT has caused so much damage that by 2011, only 8 pairs of Benelli eagles remained. According to the environmentalists, industrial agriculture has created a state of ecological siege. Our nature reserves are mere fragments of an ancient ecosystem, says environmentalist Yossi Leshem. Roads, security walls, fences, construction corridors disrupt all life in this land. And then there's the demography. Population around 1 million early in the last century. The post-World War I mandate for Palestine determined that the land could sustain 2.5 million. David Ben-Gurion argued that, with innovation, it could sustain 6 million. Today, there are 12 million. The Haredi Jews double in number every 17 years, and the Palestinians have one of the world's fastest-growing populations. If this continues, by mid-century, historic Palestine will be home to 21 million. Palestinian demographer Khalil Tufakci calls it the biology bomb. Environmentalists, though, everywhere share a common creed. The environment is life itself and must be protected and shared, and this trumps all political, cultural, and economic interests. At the Arava Institute, Arab and Jewish environmentalists from Palestine, Jordan, and Israel work together through thick and thin. No conflict comes between them, for they love not the idea of the land, but the land itself. And I will skip ahead to chapter 12, and that chapter, many chapters later, deals with Iran. And of course we hear a lot about Israel and Iran in other contexts, but in this context it's particularly interesting. Chapter 12, Iran. The Ayatollah giveth, and the Ayatollah taketh away. Traveling to Iran was not easy, but he made it. And don't let this chapter title fool you. The 26 pages are a rare guided tour of Iran through the eyes of its environmentalists and family planners. Is this the country of fanatics our press and politicians rage against, year in and year out? I think not. Let the facts speak for themselves. In 2001, Iran received the UN Award for the most successful approach to family planning the world has ever seen. In 1956, Iran's population was 18.9 million. In 1979, 37 million, and in 1986, 50 million, the highest population increase ever recorded. How did they reverse the trend? They did it in teams, on horseback, doctors and educators traveling to the most remote areas of the country, providing education, contraceptives, and free exams. In 1975, barely a third of Iranian women could read. By 2012, more than 60% of university students were female, and one-third of the government employees were women. Environmentally, their struggle is a mirror image of our own. Ismail Karam is Iran's best-known naturalist, trying to protect the dwindling world of wildlife and natural resources. In the Miankala Wildlife Refuge, maybe 10 wolves remain. The last leopard was killed in 2001. The last tiger in 2005, and the last elk in 2006. Agrochemicals, algae bloom, offshore drilling rigs, poaching, vanishing wetlands, an expressway built through Iran's oldest and largest national park, and so many dams that Iran is now the third largest builder of dams in the world. Why? Because the companies are owned by the Revolutionary Guard and the business is lucrative. Urmia, the world's third largest saltwater lake, may disappear due to the 315 dams built on the rivers that feed it. If that happens, the dust from the dried salt lake will endanger 14 million homes and the habitat of 210 waterfowl species. But meet Malaga Mala, the librarian who founded the Iranian Women's Society Against Environmental Pollution. And this is apparently a formidable environmental group, and she became an activist back in the 1970s when, as a librarian, she came upon a book in the library that needed to be cataloged, and the book was about the environment and pollution, and in order to figure out which catalog number to give it, how to catalog it and put it on the shelf, she read it cover to cover and it changed her life. Now she's 94 and she has this to say to new recruits. Women are instinctive teachers. We're also the world's main consumers. Most advertisements try to attract us. We produce the most household waste, but just as population control rests with us, we can cure our shopping disease and our polluting and educate our children to care for the environment. Of course we can. The question is, will we? Alan Weisman wants us to slow down and grow down. Unfortunately, most of us don't shrink until we get old. And in the past 50 years, as the world's population doubled, the world's economic growth increased sevenfold. Back in the United States, out in California, the author takes a ride with Paul Ehrlich, who laments the lifestyle here which makes us, in the United States, the world's highest per capita consumer. He sums it all up in one sentence. There is no condom for consumption. But one thing I do hope you'll consume is this book. Bye. See you next time.